to Beyond English. Thank you for joining us once again in this fourth and final video, taking a look at the ideas and language in Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley from the AQA Power and Conflict cluster of poetry. Stay tuned to uncover why Ramesses II was considered a god on earth during his reign. Consider how Percy Bysshe Shelley was trying to distance himself from his work to avoid further scandal. And of course, we will take a look at the irony of the crumbling statue. Ozymandias is written in first person. While Shelley often wrote about the beauty of nature, here he chooses to write about the ferocious forces of nature. Ramesses II is one of the greatest leaders of the ancient Egyptian world. The people of his time would have thought of him as some sort of god on earth. Many massive statues were created in his honour, and it is probable that the Egyptians themselves might have imagined that they would last forever. In the poem, however, we see the destructive forces of nature and time, and this once great civilization is in ruins, and the great statues of the pharaoh are in pieces. The poem is a warning about arrogance and pride in the face of unstoppable forces of nature. In the opening lines of the poem, the poet speaks directly to us, the readers, about a traveller that he has met. This line can be interpreted ambiguously. Firstly, Ramesses II is now so insignificant that his story can't be related via a first-hand account. Or, like we have looked at before, Shelley could be distancing himself from his thinly veiled attack of the monarchy. If you remember from the previous videos, we know that Shelley was greatly against this idea of pride and arrogance and narcissistic, tyrannical leadership, and he was interested in this idea of failed kingdoms. Now, wherever Percy Bysshe Shelley saw or imagined that he would see in the statue of Ramesses II, he saw these same characteristics and qualities in his own leader, his own monarchy, King George III. But by distancing himself from this thinly veiled attack, these criticisms aren't his. The blame can't be placed with him. They're of someone that he knew. Shelley uses language throughout the poem that impresses us with that ruined state of the statue. When he describes the statue, he uses the technique of personification, as though the statue has been alive at some point but is now dead and decaying. We get an impression of the statue in the fourth and fifth lines of the poem with a negative semantic field of words including trunkless, sunk, shattered, frown, wrinkled, sneer, and cold command. While showing us that Shelley, as we know, disapproves of the pharaoh as he seeks to paint him as an arrogant and cruel character who cared little for his subjects, these words can serve as an affirmation of his criticism of those in power. The consonants in the alliterative phrase cold command with the harsh k sound reminds us of the tyrannical nature of the king, while the adjective cold reminds us that his authority ceases to exist now. The eighth line of the poem, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, is a further allusion to the greatness of art and its power to outlast humans. It is not the king or his power that lasted. It is the artistic skill and how it captured this visible sneer that lives on. While mocked can indicate the creation of something, it can more likely be interpreted as the ridicule of Ramesses II, with the artist's skilled hand being a metaphor for Shelley's own hand, writing this criticism of his own ruler, King George III, as we've already mentioned. He pronounced himself, of course, in the inscription on the bottom of the statue, King of Kings, and this shows his level of arrogance, power, and pride. Throughout the Bible, Jesus is referred to multiple times as King of Kings, and this shows Ramesses II's narcissism in seeing himself as godlike or deity-like. However, his pride is shown to be pointless. He says on the sculpture, "Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair," in an effort to put fear into the hearts of his enemies because of his great power and ability. Since the statues are now destroyed, his life's work ruined by the passage of time, people will more likely, ironically, despair at the transitory nature of this great level of power. This power that he wielded was fleeting and unimportant in the vast scheme of time. The short phrase, "nothing besides remains," finishes off this idea, stating in a simple way the finality of the destruction. And the caesura here adds to this sense of finality. The final lines of the poem revert to speaking of the desert itself, using the alliterative phrase boundless and bare and lone and level to enhance the sense of emptiness, the constant sameness of the desert in which the statue stands. Ultimately, it is the desert that has vast power and survives the centuries. This video concludes our study of Percy Bysshe Shelley's Ozymandias. We hope you found this series useful so far. Don't forget to check out our study notes in the link below for a written form of today's information. Until then, thanks for watching and keep revising.